My name is Ramy. Just completed my PhD at Northumbria University, the Department of Architecture and Built Environment. So I'm going to talk today about the digital twin we're trying to build for Northumbria University campus. I'm going to share my screen in a moment. Yeah.
I'll let you know when it's arrived. Yeah, it's just come through, but not yet in presenter mode though. It's now in presenter mode. Good to go.
Perfect. Okay, so as I just said, today I'll be talking about our plan to develop a digital twin for Northumbria University campus. So the whole thing started about 2-3 years ago, and basically based on just exploratory aims and motives. We wanted to know, how can a digital twin help us overcome our existing problems within our campus buildings? How it can unlock new value. We were also curious to know what kind of challenges we might encounter while developing a digital twin, including all types of challenges, whether technical, legal, political, ethical, security related. So we were thinking about the best starting point, and we thought about one of our very interesting and most popular buildings inside the campus, which is the Computer Information Sciences building. We started by observing the lot of data sets that we actually generate and store every day within the Computer and Information Sciences building. And the question was, how can we close this gap between the data and knowledge? We have lots of data that we generate and store every day within the CIS, but we want to see how we can narrow this gap. So these data sets included sensors data, like CO2, temperature, or indoor air quality kind of sensors. We also had some installed footfall sensors. So these were supposed to measure the amount of traffic and the people coming in and out of the CIS building. We also had the BIM model for the as-built BIM model for the building, and a schedule of events that include all the events that are being hosted within the CIS building. So we wanted to integrate all these data sets and see what we can do to create more knowledge. And first of all, we used the TwinView platform to integrate all these data sets. And in case you haven't heard about the TwinView platform, I recommend you check last week's Gemini Call, I guess, where Adam presented from TwinView, presented many features about TwinView. And then we also used Python and dashboards on Power BI to provide visual insights and support decision making. So these particular types of data sets that that we have integrated kind of highlighted some of the rising concerns that we were thinking about, including, for instance, improving indoor air quality, especially with the rise of the pandemic. That was a rising concern across the whole campus. And some secondary use cases as well included the high energy consumption and, of course, sustainability, the difficulty to achieve better carbon performance, which we can also think about addressing using these data sets or by integrating and analyzing these data sets. And then we started moving into thinking about the digital twin functional requirements. We started questioning what kind of a digital twin are we looking to develop and what are the functional requirements or the technical specs needed for this particular digital twin to deliver its purpose, if the purpose is to improve the indoor air quality. So to answer these questions, we used a framework that I developed as a part of my own PhD. It was published in the Journal of IT and Construction, so you can know more about the framework and its different dimensions and how to use it through the reference mentioned below. And then these are some screenshots of the TwinView platform. As I mentioned earlier, you can also know more about that platform from the last week's recording. And then the TwinView basically provided us with access to the BIM models. We can easily navigate. The models were initially uploaded and imported really well into TwinView. Very few anomalies adjusted manually. We had to repair some parts of the model, do some manual integration or linking of data, but we've got tremendous support from the TwinView team. and these are some screenshots. I'm not going to dwell into that, but this is also the ability to view real-time census data linked to the building at any location. And the data sets I was just talking about, excluding the BIM model, of course, we're linked to Power BI to create these dashboards to gain further insights and answer some key questions, like for example, how does the CO2 level varies? How does it vary over time? And when do the CO2 peak or peaks occur? The key influencer chart down there, it also answers some very important questions. Like, it gives us a better understanding on the number of people needed to raise the CO2 levels. Say we're talking here about the first floor. So it can tell us something like how many people would it take to raise the CO2 levels by, say, 50 parts per million or 100 parts per million. This information is very valuable in terms of events planning and optimizing the building's schedule of events, so we can understand whether a particular schedule is going to raise the CO2 levels to the threshold we're trying to avoid passing. And for example, in September 2021, I was actually abroad. I wasn't even in the UK. When I was remotely working on analyzing this data and creating this particular dashboard. And I noticed, as you can see in the swarm plot down there on the bottom left-hand side, I noticed a considerable increase in activity in September. So it turns out it was a hot week combined with induction week, the event carried inside the CIS building. And that definitely clarified that we need to do something about reducing the capacity and maybe reorganizing or rearranging the events, changing the locations, do something about the whole schedule. But the one thing I also want to highlight here is that at a more abstract or conceptual level, we've seen that this is more than just a change or a way of improving indoor air quality. But it was a change also to the mindset. So instead of the reactive approach that we used to follow, like having to wait for the CO2 levels to rise and then for the mechanical ventilation to start working more on reducing it back again to desirable levels. But now it's more of a proactive approach. So we can predict the CO2 levels based on the schedule of events that we have and understand whether we're gonna face some undesirable air quality or not based on the expected footfall and take proactive actions. And now we're working on including more buildings, not just the CIS building. So we've got the Ellison Terrace, the Sutherland building. All these buildings are within the campus here, and we're doing the same thing. And the next step will definitely include trying to connect these buildings together so that we, the aspiration is to have this ecosystem of connected digital twins of the different buildings across the campus, which might even unlock further knowledge and value at the campus level. And we are also using these models now for teaching and research. But some of the challenges that I want to highlight here as well includes interoperability. As I mentioned earlier, we had to do some steps manually in terms of linking the census data to Python for analysis or Power BI for visualization and so on. And we've got also, we had to deal with some legal and political issues, so including basically because these data sets are definitely like they are not owned and stored by the same organization, but we've got different parties trying to collect and store this data. So bringing all these people together and trying to use this data seamlessly across every organization was a bit of a challenge. We also had some rising security concerns because of the current in place IT security policies placed by the university. We also had some ethical concerns or questions. We started to think about like who would provide or who would have access if this digital twin is published or becomes open access, which is the ultimate vision that we have for the whole digital twin for the whole campus. That's it for me, and happy to answer any questions if you do have them. Thank you.